Yep.
Headphones are okay. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you're listening to this show. My name is Naishad, and I'm coming to you from Melbourne. This is the 240th episode of Career Care Package, something that we started in the pre pandemic or just at the start of the pandemic. We have seen people receiving vaccinations to booster jabs, and we are now continuing our tradition to come live on every Tuesday, 5 or 5:30. We haven't still worked out exactly the time, but you'll see us either 5 or 5:30. But it's my pleasure to welcome back Caroline Brown, and she was also in isolation for a week or so. So Caroline will tell us about her COVID journey to kick off until we assemble people on that, and also like to extend warm welcome to Daniel as well, who we will be talking about change your career with career change bingo. That we will be sharing that piece of doodle that I drew. But let's welcome Caroline Brown.
Thanks, Nash. I don't really want to relive the isolation period. Thanks for that. I was just saying, like, I don't have, as soon as I go, oh, I've got rid of my cough, I start to cough again. So I'm not going to say that, but fingers crossed, I felt pretty good the last couple of days. I like cough free. So I think all three of us have had a dose of COVID, and all three of us are a reflection on the beautiful thing that are vaccines. And who'd have thought that 2 years ago when we started Career Care Package that we'd have a vaccine and relative freedom and so forth. So can't say that life is 100% back to normal. It's a very weird time with, I guess, a new government and just absolute job bonanza for a lot of people. Not for everyone, but a certain professional class, definitely a jobs bonanza. But still, I think a lot of people really stuck or not knowing, how they should even wanting to make a career change, but not knowing where to start and what move they should make. And that's why I liked your idea of a bingo, because it's not one size fits all. It's I'll take that number or legs 11 or legs 27 or whatever you, know, you call out as a bingo announcer. But yeah, so today we've got Daniel Solodky, who's a career counsellor, very dear friend of both of ours. And just wanted to say welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you. And I believe as well, Caroline, happy birthday.
Yeah, yesterday. But anyway, happy
Yeah. See,
sweet celebration. So I had pizza with the
yeah.
family. That was lovely.
Oh, it sounds great.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back on the program. Like, hello to everyone who's tuning in live or watching later as well. It's great to be back. It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, we're going to talk about career, and one of the things that you sent us was like the definition of a satisfying career. So, how do you know whether
Mm,
you're in the right career or not for yourself?
mm. Yeah, it's a really deep question. So I like questions like this, but there's two ways to think about this. One is the negative side of what's absent. So when something's lacking in your life, and there's the positive definition. But just to start with the negative, and we'll transition to the positive. So indicators of what is a maybe wrong career for you is that you sort of, and I've spoken about this before, but I think it's important just to ground from a practical point of view. So you start to notice things are a little bit off in your body. So it comes to Sunday afternoon, and so that Sunday afternoon blues starts to kick in. So I think that's one indicator. And then there's this horrible sense of depression and anxiety about going back to work on a Monday, and this kind of sadness kind of kicks in. So you sort of notice it in the core of your being. And then what happens is that as you transition into something that you do like, or this amazing career pathway that you've been dreaming about, that tends to dissipate. So it disappears, and you start to move into this new space of energization. And you start to notice things like that distinction between the week and the weekend kind of dissipates, that you start to love what you do. And so things around, alignment into your strengths, into your interests, what you're curious about. But it definitely, where I'm very interested from a career counseling point of view, is that it definitely does affect your core being. And you notice that you can even start to look forward to going to work. or you tap into this other dimension where you have this insatiable appetite that you just love what you do and you can't read enough about it or you can't do enough about it, but it feels good to do. And also often there's this absence of stress. It's not to say that work is perfect. We will have days that are quite challenging, but there's this growth orientation that you're learning and you're growing, but it's connected to this sense of meaning and purpose. And then at an even deeper level for me, something I'm very interested about is this concept of self-liberation. It's this grand liberation where you feel free in what you do. It feels great to do it. You don't feel restricted anymore. Yeah, and so life takes on this whole different aspect of where, yeah, you start to feel a bit happier with what you're doing.
And it's funny because I think, a lot of people don't give themselves that gift of finding out and discovery. And it's interesting because I was reflecting on this with about a couple of friends of mine in particular who have had really big careers, but the stress of that has been absolutely enormous. And I'm one, and their success is driven by fear of failure and needing to prove themselves that, or do something for other, like it's not for them, it's for other people, or, supporting the family, or proving themselves. And you can see it just plays out in many, many aspects of people's lives. So, and there's not that kind of stop and step back and reflect on, wow, is this what I should be doing? Like, is this make my heart sing type thing? And so, yeah, I'm just wondering, because Naisha's Doodle was around career change and a whole bunch of things that people could do to change direction. But what would be the first thing that you would recommend to people who want to change?
Yeah. It's a really good point. And I know often people come to career counselling because they're lost and confused and not really sure about what to do next. But one of the things I started to notice very early when I first started to work more full-time in career counselling about 6 years ago is that I've never met a client that doesn't know what they want to do. But what gets in the way of that is that you might find that you have some ideas that come to mind. So it might be you might want to try a different industry or try a different job. Maybe you might want to try a different course, or maybe pursue something that's a little bit more creative. So you kind of have these kind of ideas that come to mind. And then what will happen is that the mind will actually kick in and say, no, like it's not safe. And so like what you just described, Caroline, it says, the mind will say, well, I should stay in my current job or I should stay in my current occupational industry because I need to pay the bills and need to kind of earn money. So it's more about being really mindful of, what your mind is saying. So if your mind is saying, no, it's not going to work out, or I won't be successful, I can't earn money, no one's going to hire me, paradoxically, it's actually an indicator that you're on the right path. So I would kind of invite this ongoing process of inquiry and just noticing, where do you feel called to go? What do you notice is emerging within your being? And so these will be things around like, what are you curious about? Like, what would you like to learn more about? If it was guaranteed that you could be successful and that you could find a job out there for you, what would you like to try? So it becomes this kind of process of experimentation. So really spending time to get to know yourself, I think is really, really important. But give yourself a permission to just take some risk and know that not everything will work out, but you'll be actually pleasantly surprised. So you want to really go in and start exploring and taking risk. But also, I think it's important that if you are struggling, to really just have the confidence to start expressing to people that, maybe I'm feeling a bit lost. These are some ideas that I have, but I'm not quite sure if they're valid. So go through that process of starting to build some connection with people, and being really brave to have those conversations where you can say, I'm not sure if I've got experience in these areas. I don't know if someone will hire me, but my dream is this, or something I'd like to do more of, or something I'd like to experiment with would be actually this. So you start to kind of have both that internal dialogue, but then you start to extend it out into your outer world and start hanging out with people that do work that you find really interesting.
I think one of the thing that I actually was drawing something. It's similar on the path of what just to reflect back on, I was at the Career Development Association's conference, and few career counselors were talking about things, and they were all talking about this idea of where you find yourself immersed into, and you forget what's happening outside of that, right? So, and that is defined, that is considered as that, the idea of you're in the zone or you're in the flow. And I like that idea of flow, because it's more talking about where you're putting your energy in, where you find yourself, kind of being so present in that moment that you're kind of solving that. And I'm pretty sure that all of us have had those experiences. You get engrossed into writing a resume and feel, what, I'm really getting this, and I love this. This is an amazing piece of work that I'm creating. So you can look at three circles. I was trying to draw, but it's not working out. If you look at three circles, is that the first being, who you are. So what's your characteristics like? So you are, somebody who believes in social justice, somebody who believes in, fairness of all. I'm just giving some examples. And the second circle that intersects is your work. What sort of work you are involved in? I'm a bank manager. Okay, so you just write it down that, you're a bank manager, but that's what you want to do. The third is, what are your beliefs around, what's your total belief? And I think if you start to look at, then one would go completely out of whack if you're not in the flow, and said, okay, so if this goes out of whack, then what do I need to do? And most of the time, it's not who you are or your belief, it's the work component that goes out of the whack. And I'm not of the opinion that we all need to be social crusaders, or we all need to have just single-minded approach of that I'm here for a cause bigger than myself. I'm not of that opinion at all. I'm saying that you just non-judgmentally look at these three things, who you are, your work, and also, your belief system, and you'll find that something is out of whack there, because you can't fundamentally change yourself unless you are, somebody who goes to kinder. That possibilities are immense there. You can't even change your belief system too, because you've grown into certain things. But what's important then is that, where can I find the work that allows me to gain that flow in my work, something that I
Mm,
really find
mm,
engrossed into. I was, I don't know, at the conference, I've seen so many researchers, and they talk about it, but the amount of legacy that these guys are leaving behind is just
mm,
incredible. Somebody has to really deeply love the work that they do. It's not possible. 4 or 5 years dedicated to creating a framework, creating a
mm,
theory, and everything. It's just immense. And I think we also have to can look at that. That's what's the sometimes people get excited for various reasons, not necessarily that career change for sake of making more money. They get excited because I want to leave something behind me. I want to do something that says, what, I've done that, and I'm so, insanely proud of it. So I think those are the things. But fundamentally, coming back to this, is that requires us to have a look at our career, reflect on it, rather than arriving at a conclusion, oh shit, there's something wrong here. No, there's
mm,
nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong. And the idea that we tend to do is that there's something wrong with my career, and I should not have done this, should not have done that. You might carry the same regret or the same influence into the next career choice.
mm. Yeah, so it's a really good point. It brings up for me too this thing around you mentioned about beliefs, and you can start, yeah, that self-reflection piece. You can start to notice that, yeah, things do feel off. But yeah, also one thing, just to go back also to Carolyn, what you were saying before too, is that I think it's this concept of self exploration and allowing yourself to feel lost is really important. I think it's important to spend as much time as you can in that space of not knowing who you are, not quite knowing what to do next. I'm feeling as though like no one's going to hire me, I'm not good enough, these opportunities aren't going to work out. Really stay in that space. And often what I see happen a lot, particularly in my, just, through all my years of experience in recruitment and also in career counselling, is that often people start with the externalized part first. So they go to say, seek, they have a look at job ads and they say, this is what employers are looking for. And then they apply based on what the employer is looking for. But that automatically is a disconnect. Or sometimes they get really disillusioned and say, actually, there's jobs out there, but I don't think I've got the experience for them. I can't apply for them. But what we're doing here is we're flipping it. And we're saying, okay, screw the job boards, don't worry about what employers are looking for. What's more important is what do I want? What do I really, really, really want? And then having the courage to go out there and say that, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I want. I think that's really, really important. And then what starts to happen is this magic starts to happen is that although maybe you don't have all the skill set requirement, for a particular role or a transition, the fact that you're really interested in it and the fact that you would like to learn more about it and it brings you alive in the core of your being, that makes you so employable. It's incredible. And I saw this a lot with graduates as well when I was working for university. A lot of them would come in and say, hey, I want to work, say, in data analytics, or actually I want to work, say, with drones or, in the aerospace industry. But they weren't quite believing that it's actually possible to do that. The very fact that you said that, you want to work with refugees means that you are destined to do that. That's your calling. So please, know it's safe to trust that. You don't need to know how it's going to work out. That's for life to work out. But just the fact, if you can hold this intention that this is important for me, this is what brings me alive, in my heart space, in my belly, in my felt sense of energization, this really makes life worth living.
It's interesting with that because, we do the Straight to Shortlist Challenge, and I know that you've done that process with graduates around seeking out people who interest you and doing a form of informational interviewing, as in, asking them about their job or what they love about their job or how they broke into the field, whatever, just, to start that conversation. But I think people mistake that they actually have to be experienced in whatever they're going after, but nobody can deny your interest. Like I could go, I want to be a rocket scientist. I'm going to go and meet some rocket scientists, see what it's like. Nobody can deny that that's a curiosity of mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a great place to just start is, because those clues, it takes a while. I think people have a felt sense of what they don't like, but
that's right.
Having a felt sense of what they do like, it's a big gap between going to those sorts of things, like going from what I don't like, because that's kind of like your fear reaction, to what I do like is your hope. And sometimes you don't allow yourself to go into that place where, I feel like I feel alive and I feel like I deserve it. So and those clues are sometimes really subtle, and nobody's coming waving a flag at you. But if you've got this little inkling about something, that's enough to go and explore that. That's enough to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and ask them, if you can catch up with them briefly to, genuinely interested in what they're doing. And I think that can apply to pretty much any stage of your career.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I appreciate the chance to be on the show, like as a career counselor, hey, because like that, just to hear you say that, Carolyn, brings up a lot for me. And so I'll talk about like being a career counselor is intense. Like it's really intense work, and I think for a few reasons. One is that because it's a really hard job to convince someone that it's safe to go out there and explore your truest heartfelt desire. That there will be advocates and allies and these enablers and encouragers. Like your cheer squad will emerge from the woodwork in these very unexpected ways. So there's that. That's what makes my job very difficult, to know that you've got this idea. Please trust it. It's safe for you to go out there and explore it and start connecting. The other piece that makes the job of a career counselor really intense work is that now that we know who you are, now that we've defined what brings you alive and what you love to do, let's now make that transition successfully. let's go out there and meet some people who are doing the work that you love, and let's get you linked up to employers. And so that's where I find that kind of career education piece. And then that whole support around networking, approaching employers, doing those informational interviews, like that straight to shortlist challenge, is very, it can be challenging for people. And there's a lot of skills that you need to learn too about, how to write a really powerful cover letter that really brings all of your core being into that cover letter and showcases why that role is so personally meaningful for you and what you can do for that employer. So there's a whole skill to it. And that's why I just really wanted to emphasize maybe two key points is that what you just said, Carolyn, is that you can actually reach out to people. So if your dream is to be, a data scientist, or, you want to grow, palm trees, or something, whatever, to know that it's safe and it's accepted business protocol on LinkedIn to find someone who's doing work in an area that you find really interesting, and just saying hello, and just say, I noticed that you work in this field. I'm really interested in that field as well. Would it be okay to connect with you and to follow you on LinkedIn? That's all you need to say for your initial requests. So long as like a very heartfelt request and you're doing it over common interests, you'll be amazed at what will emerge from that. So yeah, I love what you said, Carmen, because it's about that pathway of permission, knowing it's okay to reach out to people and say hi and just share what your hopes and ambitions are.
I can see a doodle coming on for you, Naish. You have my permission.
Absolutely, why not? So, do you want to look at, because the other part of that is also, creating different options as well.
Mm,
Don't just rely on one option.
mm.
Um, I know I did a doodle on it, which some people found it too difficult to understand. And I'm looking at Caroline for that matter. I I I felt that that was like a Picasso moment for
I'm
me.
not
That
a visual person. Like I
yeah,
looked at it like, why has Naish got those
let's
numbers?
keep.
What does
Yeah,
that
I
mean?
know, I know. No, I do understand, but I think I failed to make a point around that. Is that the our career is full of possibilities and many different pathways that we could take, and the idea that I could be one is quite limiting. At the same time, it could be liberating too.
Mm,
That I could be many as well. Uh, and for some to kind of say, I could be many. That means I can do this, I can do that, I can be that. Could be overwhelming too. And I do understand that. That's not a kind of, it might be easy for people to for me to say that, but I completely can get it's not an easy exercise for people to do, and I'm going to do some more do some more proper work around it and present it as a LinkedIn blog, where you can where how I see my career, what are the options that I see my career based on what I've done so far. Because that's also a part of career change and career. I think we previously spoke about mind mapping. Mind mapping can also help you take you to different directions, and the idea is not to immediately arrive at something, right? Now, obviously, none of us are advocating that you leave your job and let the bank chase you and for your mortgage payments. No, we're not advocating that at all. You got to be absolutely 100% responsible. Because if you're stressed about it, there's no point in you pursuing something that you enjoy. So you definitely want to have, your finances secure. So if I want to, bring the doodle, the career change one, give me a second, and I am going to share screen windows. Okay, all right. So hopefully you're able to see this now. Yep. I think I need to do a little bit more zoom in. Okay, all right, that's better. All right. So I don't know how many of you played bingo, but it's kind of a game which I was exposed to that when I went to Horsham, and everybody said, "Oh, let's go to RSL. They're playing bingo. We'll have chicken parma." And I said, "Oh, that seems pretty
I hope you
Australian."
had a Kahlua and milk as well.
And then there was in half an hour, the whole club was filled. With people of all the ages, school going children to young ones to elderlies, everyone was there. And then there was somebody on the mic would announce a number and people will tick that off. That's how the bingo is. But in this one, what I've tried to do is to bring as many possibilities as you can. And as I think Caroline alluded to, that it doesn't work. This doesn't work not every option works for everyone. Okay.
Mm.
So
Can I speak to that
yeah.
first one, the transferable skills? Because this is what I guess a lot of people talk about, your transferable skills. And, we go, oh, you want to change your career? Well, just identify your transferable skills. And everyone's like, and then they say, oh, teamwork, communication, leadership, da 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 da. And to that, I say BS because your transferable skills are after a process of research, right? So it's where you have like it's kind of going forward a few steps from what Daniel said, is where you've identified that there are maybe 2 or 3 options for you in terms of careers, and what are the skills that an employer wants for you to demonstrate to have that, to change your career. And you may have 25 things that you can do, but there may only be 4 things that employer is interested in, and those 4 things are your transferable skills. It's really contextual. And so what I suggest for people who want to change their career is to you've made the decision about what you want to do. That's the point that you can go and look at advertisements on Seek and advertisements on LinkedIn, and then look at what's being asked and see where you can find evidence of those skills in previous roles that you've had. So, for example, if you wanted to change your career from being in
I think she's in Gippsland facing some internet connection issues there, I think. Daniel, if you want to, continue, talk about transferable skills, and how have you used?
Yeah, so I guess, from a recruitment standpoint, Caroline was describing a process. You had to have a look at the job advertisement and pick out a few things that you feel as though that you've sort of done in a similar nature. So it may not always be 100% match, but maybe there's a few things that you've actually done in a previous role. It can also be very high level as well. So just taking a very basic example, like sometimes I notice, for example, people from a call center may, struggle to transition into administration because technically, call center is very, computer based. You're talking to customers, but there's not a lot of administration. But when you really break it down, a call center is absolutely administration based because you're responding to emails, you're sending out letters, you're following deadlines, quality control process, customer service. So that's just an example of, it's not always going to be 100% match. Yeah, but I just want to say, Nishad, I love this idea of career change bingo because, like one thing I'm very curious about as a career counselor is that it's very easy to get kind of paralyzed when you're looking to make a career transition, or if you're looking to apply for a new job. You can get paralyzed in so many different areas, but sometimes just trying one single thing, just trying one thing different can make a massive, fundamental difference. So for example, I love that thing there about in the top right-hand corner that I am driven by curiosity. So even just taking that one simple concept is enough to take you all the way home. And what I mean by that is that you can say, okay, so what am I curious about? What do I want to learn more about? So you can start to meet people on LinkedIn or networking events or associations that are doing work in an area that you find curious. Next up, following curiosity, you can say, okay, on my cover letter, when I write a cover letter, have I expressed what I'm really curious about? Have I expressed what brings me alive? And likewise, have I done that also on my resume as well? Have I really documented quite strongly the areas I'm very curious about that are strengths for me? And then when you go to an interview in a very practical sense, they're going to ask you questions like, so what made you apply for this role? Like, why are you interested in this position? What are your strengths? What are your interests? And so that's when you can talk about what you're curious about. So yeah, it's very powerful. Just this concept of doing just one little thing different can make a fundamental difference to your whole transition piece.
Yeah, I agree. And transferable skills is something that I think we as a careers counselor we talk about it every day. And I like, I'll share this link with everyone. I think National Skills Commission's website have done a fantastic one where you can put in a particular role that you're currently pursuing or all the roles that you're currently pursuing. It gives you
Mm,
all the skills that you've developed so far. So you don't need to really go anywhere else to figure out what you have learned, because you can ask a business analyst, oh, what skills have you learned? I don't know, talking to people, gathering requirements, things like that. Welcome back, KB.
I was mid rant, and I thought that you were so stunned by my wisdom that you were just in awe, and then I realised I was frozen. So
That's okay. Do you want
that's
to pick up from where you left?
Well, I was really just talking about how to identify your transferable skills. So
Hmm.
if you're an event manager wanting to go thinking a career change into project management, you've probably got a lot of project events that you've organised that you could consider to be projects. So they're your transferable skills. It's really contextual. I think that's where people get stuck. And I think people get a lot of bad advice about what to list as transferable skills that actually don't help them. So
mm.
again, that's a question for them to make an interview. What are
Can I
your
just
key?
add that? Yeah, thanks, Gavin. Just like that idea about getting bad advice as well, and something I really want to strongly advocate too is that if you go have, I've had these awful, so clients often describe these awful experiences where they've been interviewed by a recruiter, and the recruiter just shuts them down and says, look, you don't have the skill set, you can't apply for these roles, you need to be applying for this particular area. So the client walks away devastated, believing that I can't work in that area. Like, I've just been told by this amazing recruiter that there's no jobs out there for me based on my current skill set. It's all bullshit. Like, don't believe stuff like that. So if someone says no to you, go find another 3 people that will say yes to you. And that's why, like Nisha, I'm really drawn to that. This is why, again, I love bingo. Like, Carolyn, just when you dropped off there, I was saying just this concept of just doing, when you feel paralyzed, just try and do one little thing different. One little thing different makes a massive impact. So, Nisha, I love how you've got, like, I've reached out to a mentor. And so that's something I really wanted to get across quite strongly too in today's show, is that please don't do this journey alone. I really want you to understand that there are people out there that will believe in you and that will fight for you and that will really support you to make that transition into that pathway that is really important for you. And so mentoring is amazing because you can find a mentor at any age. Like, I don't care if you're like 18 or 75. There's bound to be someone out there that you just can't wait to have this conversation with, and invite them out for coffee, and then offer to buy them dinner, and then offer to catch up with them again, in another month or so. So develop those mentoring relationships, I think, is really important. With people that you aspire to be like, or people who are doing work that you're really curious about, because they're the ones that will know people that will believe in you and will refer you into that hidden job market. That the magic of the job search, which is that you never know when that next job opportunity is going to come.
And
But it's only
sometimes
going
it
to
comes
come if you
later.
can say that I'm interested in that. Sorry, Carolyn, go ahead.
Sometimes I think the thing about that is that you are planting those seeds, and you don't know which plant is going to grow the fastest and the slowest. But sometimes, you can reach out to people and they don't come back to you for, I've had it even a year later on, right? But suddenly they've kept your outreach, they've kept that email, they've kept your resume as well. So it is, things grow out of this. I mean, the only guarantee is that if you don't do it, nothing will happen, basically. So I just wanted to look at one of them. I saw, I think, where is it, about a side hustle? Did you have that on your list there? I'm pretty sure I saw it. It might be up the top. I'm actively considering a side project. There we go. Or volunteering. It'd be good to have a chat about that, because again, that's a thing around And this came up a lot during the pandemic, as a lot of people turned their side hustles into their main hustles, or, that spent more time doing that. But, a side hustle can be completely unrelated to what you do, and can give you another option and allow you to just be curious about how doing that side hustle makes you feel. I had somebody approach me, it might have been 18 months ago, and I think he would have been a process improvement guy in insurance, and he had a YouTube channel as a side hustle, and the YouTube channel was reviewing skateboards, and he loved it. He turned into a real influencer, learned a whole heap of skills around video making, YouTube algorithm, recording, all sorts of things. So, yeah, so your side hustle can be completely unrelated to what you do at work.
Yeah, I love that,
Yeah, but
Caroline.
it
'cause
also,
sorry, Nash, go ahead.
no, it also sort of, and there's a reason why I did not put side hustle, because I also want to emphasize on side projects as well. And a lot of the time in organizations where you can actually start to redesign your job as well. Not every organization, but some medium or large size organization, you've got an opportunity to take on something extra, and I feel that people may hate. I was talking to somebody and said, okay, what you don't like about your job? So no, I don't know, I've not thought about it, because we don't really go into granular details of what part of my job I do not like or enjoy. So I may like talking to a customer, but when it comes to sending them a request for payments and everything, I just hate to do it. Well, you make a note of it, that this is the things that I really enjoy, these are the things that I don't really enjoy, right? Because having that sense is equally important. And then you want to focus on which are the other side projects, which are the other ways that I can acquire something new that will help me to fuel my curiosity, help me to learn something else, and may have a different experience of my career completely, rather than thinking of, oh god, it's not going to work out, I might change my career, I might change my job, everything else. Give yourself a chance to dig deeper into that, to figure out what you like, what you don't like, or what you don't enjoy, and reflect on it over a period of 1 month. Don't just say one day when you got the absolute shittiest day and said, okay, probably you like one thing that you get paid, nine things you're not going to like anyway, right? So so I think it's important to reflect on that as well. And that's why side projects. Another one that I could say is that, I think a lot of associations, a lot of not for profits are always crying out for people who want to help them out. And that's where you can go and use your skills. So, for example, if you are into HR, and if you want to, kind of go into more employee relationships, or, that kind of work, I'm pretty sure there'll be a big or small size not for profit who will be looking for somebody to help them out with that. So even take on that side project or volunteering to reignite your interest, or to pivot, or to start to learn about different things as well.
And it's interesting on that because, your wife, Nesh, Mildura, does a lot of stuff in politics, but that's not her main gig. And so there's, I think she was volunteering at the election. She stood for local council. She's started up the Australian Women's Entrepreneur Group. Like, there's a real calling of side projects and side things that she does that at some point she may well segue her career into that. So it doesn't matter that those things are remarkably different from what you do every day as well. And, obviously sometimes what you do in those side projects or volunteering really informs or helps you get better at what your main gig is as well. So, and plus you're building that network of people that can support you when you want to make that change. You want to transition your career.
Absolutely. Daniel, which other things that caught your interest in this?
Yeah, thanks, Nesha. So I am willing to trust my instincts. This is an area I find that clients really do struggle with. So really noticing, like, trusting your instincts, like about, let's discount what other people have been saying to me, discount those negative voices, discount all those employment rejections that I've received. Like, and just, my fear about survival and money and all that kind of stuff, like just, let that settle for a moment and just really notice, like, what's my instincts telling me? Like, where's my gut sense telling me to go next? And these are very little things. Like, so, like, I can share an example. Like, a few years ago, I had to make a transition to actually find a new job. So and I wasn't quite sure what to do, but just my instinct was telling me, just go call this person, go reconnect with this former manager, just give them a phone call, see how they are. And sure enough, that one phone call led me to get a job because she knew someone who was looking for work. So just really trust, that instinct is very, very important. And often what happens is that we've been trained or programmed not to trust our instincts. We've been taught, just get this job because you need to pay the bills and earn money. That safe path. But often that path of instinct will lead you down to that path of discomfort and what feels like danger. But it's about building that tolerance to know that it is safe to take risks. Yeah, so really noticing that. And it's like I was saying, it's not a big thing. Sometimes it could be just, I need to go send this email or I need to connect with this person on LinkedIn. Just notice that emerging, like this, the quality that's emerging within you to do one task. And so just take it task by task by task. So, for example, you might have this intuitive feeling to go look up some people that work in, rocket engineering, like Carolyn was saying. So, go find people working in rocket engineering on LinkedIn, and maybe just send, three connection requests and take the whole day off after that because you've done well. That's 3 connection requests and see what comes back. And tomorrow, just check in with yourself. Okay, what's my instinct telling me to do next? So really trusting yourself. But often it can come slamming us right in the face because, we know at a truest, corest, deepest being that this is an area I really want to explore, but I'm just afraid it's not going to work out. So that's the instinctual voice to listen to, that this is my calling, this is a path I really want to explore. Yeah, because the other thing too that, sorry, Carol, just one more thing just quickly say is that I find the whole concept of career very boring. And it's not because career gets reduced down to what do I do to earn money to pay the bills? It's far more than that. What we're talking about is life. It's like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what does this existence mean to me? This one shot I have at life, just to have like a really good effing time and have a blast and really enjoy it and go out in style. Like, what's this life really, really, really about? Like, what are we here for? Yeah, this is like this miracle of existence. We have no idea how we ended up here. We have no idea how nothing works. Like, it's incredible.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because I think the discussion around career in general is very, well, for example, in the media, right? People only think about their job or their career when they're having difficulty and they want to change it. Or but in the media, you don't have a lot of this discussion. You have discussion about everything else, but the discussion around career choice is just, trivialized or not there, or, it's not your career, it's your life. And I love what you've said about that. It's your life. How do you want to spend your life? The way that you interact with people in the workplace is the way that you interact outside the workplace. It's the way that you interact in your personal relationships and your family relationships. So you can't separate your job, your career really from everything else that's in your life. So you might as well find what is the thing that's calling you or that is true to you or true to your strengths at least in that space. But the thing about instincts, and I'll keep going back to it, is they're clues. They're not loud. They're never loud, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? They're little things that guide you versus big flags to follow. And that's why I think that both you and Naish do is so important, because it's really hard to unpack that stuff. First of all, unpack it and then believe it. That's why it's great to have somebody on your side.
Yeah. There's a real paradox there too, hey, because I'm also really conscious of that. When we talk about, following your aspirations and follow your calling, it may not always be the big grand things, or like I want to be a surgeon or a pilot. Often it's not like that. And we're talking about volunteer work, and one thing I noticed too, like when I've done and I still do volunteer work now, but like I used to work in an op shop, like a charity store, and it was amazing. And I've got so much meaning and purpose just from like sweeping the floor and talking to customers and, washing dishes. And then Shad was talking about this concept of flow. Like with my current volunteer job, like on Saturday, they don't have a dishwasher. There's no dishwasher, so every dish has to be washed by hand. And when I walked in for the start of my shift, there's this massive load of dishes from an event the night before. It took me 3 hours to wash those dishes by hand. It was amazing. But I was so excited because it was the one thing I knew how to do, because I can't make coffee, I can't serve alcohol, I don't know how to make cocktails, but I can wash dishes. It was amazing.
Did you hear that, everyone? Daniel wants
So,
to
yeah,
dishwashing.
I'll come to your house and wash dishes, right? If you make me cocktails, I'll come.
All right,
Yeah,
done.
but this is the thing that transition that often will happen, where we find that we're deeply craving more meaning and purpose, and it can be quite surprising to realize that, it may not necessarily always be, earning those big ticket corporate careers or earning heaps of money.
I think I was talking to one of the participant, and she was talking about she's not sure what she wants to do, blah blah blah, but she's got interest in sports, fitness, and nutrition. She started to follow that when she was in primary school, blah. She kept on talking about that. She said, I don't know what she, and then I kept on observing it, and I said, you know what you want to do. I think you're seeking my validation, isn't it? That's a great path.
Yeah,
And there's a penny drop, and she said, yeah, but I don't know how to convince my mom and dad. I said, that's the problem. I think you already know what you want to do. In your
yeah.
head, you worked out. You've reached out to me to find strategy of how can I persuade, my mom and dad. That's a very different thing altogether. So, I think most of the time we kind of know. I don't know. I think my wife asked me a few months back, "Oh, what would you do? Like seriously, if you got," and I said, I told her exactly what I wanted. I said, I want to become a primary school teacher, and I want to teach into a village in India. That's what I want to do. Like, and why? Because my primary school teacher was like that, and that is completely kind of solidified in my head, this thing. And even even reflecting on those, I don't consider idols or anything, but people who influenced our careers, or people who have taken some remarkable career journeys, right? Even sharing with them, even watching their career path can also lead us to say, you know what, somebody has tracked this before, somebody has done this before. So it kind of helps you to reinforce the idea of career change. And that's why I've written here that I believe it is possible to change careers.
Mm.
It's absolutely possible to change
Hmm.
careers, and that's the kind of fundamental belief that I usually start with. It's possible. Now, how is something that you got to work it out, but it's possible.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, to really, not even to believe, but just to know that possibilities exist, and you'll be just blown away like at all the possibilities that are out there for you. Yeah, and it'll take time to believe. And like Neshad just said, like I find that a lot of clients do come in seeking validation because they don't know if that idea is valid, or if it's safe, or if if it is the right path for them. And often, a lot of the career counseling process is just really listening to a client, and just magic happens. Like, clients start to talk about like what their strengths are, what their interests are, and what their fears are. But if they knew they couldn't fear us, if they knew that success was guaranteed, they'll often share that this is a path I actually really do want to go down, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. So often it is just validating. Yeah, absolutely. Like that's an amazing idea. I think you'll be great at that. And like, I've got a background in recruitment. If I heard you tell that story to me as a recruiter, I'd absolutely hire you. I think it's brilliant. So it's safe for you to go down that pathway, like explore it, amplify it. Yeah, it's really
That's a funny
important.
thing because, when I work on resumes with clients, I think I'm going to change this as one of the first questions that I ask, which is, what could you do every day without being paid for it? And I
Yeah,
think,
amazing.
yeah, but I think a lot of people get stuck because
Yeah. Well,
reading what they
so
could do every day without being paid
okay.
for it.
Yeah, and so
Um,
this is really interesting, right? And so like this is so we're going a whole level deeper, right? It's probably a whole other show. We'll get me back on the show for this one, right? But this is the thing, like our careers and our lives are unfolding within the social context, and the social
mm,
context is that we have to earn money. But
mm,
imagine that everything was paid for you. Like imagine if the government said to you, okay, so we're going to give you like a guaranteed universal basic income. We're going to pay you $1,500 a fortnight. Like imagine that concept. So you no longer have to worry about money, and you're then free to pursue whatever creative interest that you have. And this is something I know that artists, so creatives, people in the artistic industry, will be dying for that because then they're free to pursue their art form. And it's
mm,
amazing people, how many people I meet that they're creatives. They need to be in a field where they're expressing or creating some kind of art form. But
mm,
society doesn't support us.
mm,
Yeah, it can be challenging, and so that's where often it gets personalized as that it's not a safe career pathway for me. I can't earn money doing it, but in fact, yeah, it does take work, but there's support available to help you.
mm. Fantastic. Well,
Excellent. I
Nish,
I think we are coming to a very tail end of that. But yeah, so as soon as I draw another bingo, we'll probably talk about.
Yeah,
I've got
thanks.
few bingo cards on my ideas that I'm playing with. So you'll see some of them coming to
Hmm.
life.
mm,
Can I just
Very
add one more point just to kind of bring everything together? Because this is something I just wanted to really get across, which is so far we've talked about this kind of big dreamy stuff about what is my truest calling, my heartfelt aspirations. I just wanted to just lay out a little bit of framework that I think brings everything together, which is once you know what you want to do, just don't forget to kind of start to get some logistical help. And that's where getting support is critical around a few fundamental areas. So one is definitely once you know what you want to do, get some help to network, and so start meeting people in that particular area, and then just make sure that you do get some coaching or feedback on the quality of your application. So your cover letter, your resume, your LinkedIn profile. Please don't do that alone. And then the next powerful step, which is really really critical, is make sure that you do try and practice your interview skills with someone. So if you have an interview coming up, try and practice your interview before going. Ideally, with someone that has kind of worked in management, perhaps maybe that's someone that has sat on interview panels before. I just wanted to kind of leave those pieces out there. So it's kind of that self-exploration, networking help, cover letters, resume, job search, and interview practice. They're the core aspects that will really help bring everything together. And just make sure, you get these, get help behind you to navigate all the different stages. Thank you. It's great to discuss philosophy and depth-based psychology and bingo and gambling and alcohol and volunteering. It's a very holistic conversation advocating for universal minimum wage or like
I think we've
basic wage,
covered
sorry.
everything.
Yeah, we
So
have, yes.
yeah, I like the idea of bingo, like the bingo cards, Nish. Like we just pick something and we go and explore it and come back, or research it and come back. It's that idea about some of those things on the card you'll be scared about doing or worried about
Mm,
doing, and some of the
mm,
things on the cards will come easy. But
mm.
everything you should have a crack at, basically,
yeah,
Yeah.
and see
yeah,
where it lands you. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that's a really great
Um,
structure.
and Carl, I just want to say thank you too for like, all the amazing work that you've been doing because like this show is really like the optimism show, right? That you are really encouraging people to embrace their truest potential, but you're giving people permission to go out there and meet other people and to network and get support behind them. And you're giving
Mm.
away like heaps of free advice as well about how to brand and network and write your LinkedIn profiles and your resume and interviews. It's amazing.
Thanks.
So thank you. Yeah.
Send us a check.
No worries. Yeah.
Or buy me
I'm
a
meeting
drink or
him tomorrow.
something.
Either I'm meeting Daniel tomorrow. I can probably get some
Oh yeah,
cash
we are
from
too.
him.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
We
correct.
Yeah.
buy
Yeah,
Nation
so
coffee.
yeah,
So,
yeah, more than coffee. But great to meet you, Daniel.
Thanks,
Katie,
Nisha.
look
Yeah.
after yourself in Gippsland.
Happy
Um,
birthday, Carolyn.
and
thank you.
yeah, and yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday. We don't know who's coming, but someone who is as charismatic as Daniel. We'll try to bring them to the show,
Thank you.
and yeah, we'll talk about something else on the next one. I don't know what we are talking about, but it will still be amazing. So have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel.